This is Mark Wildeman, and this is my tort liability presentation. What's the definition for tort? It's a civil wrong where one person causes damage, injury, or harm to another. There are two major types of torts. There's an intentional and negligence. In most cases of schools, it's more in the negligence area. What is an intentional tort is anytime a case where you try to intent to do harm to another. In most cases, in school settings, this could be battery or assault. In negligence, most cases, it's just simply not doing appropriate levels of care towards the responsibilities that are set by you and your job. What are some of the cases I looked into? The Mitchell versus Cedar Rapids in 2007, a ninth grade special ed student, which actually had a very strict IEP because of her low IQ, snuck out of school early with a friend, met up with another boy, and had a sexual act. And the parents filed suit of negligence towards supervision of the school. Reactively, what I would have done is had a conference with the supervising staff, whether that was paras, their supervisor, whether or not that was a special ed supervisor and administrators involved, in making sure our documentation of what went wrong, what was the situations of why the student left early. Proactive wise, in this case, definitely want to have more clear defined expectations and procedures, especially towards the IEPs that are written specifically for students. I find in many cases that sometimes we do not inform our teachers appropriately of IEP needs by the students that they have in their classroom, and I want to make sure that that's clear. Professional ethics, in this case, hold a high level of professionalism, take ownership. If we made a mistake, hopefully we can work things out, have a high level of morals, and develop a strong relationship with staff and students to help in maintaining these professional ethics. On the next one, this isn't really a case. This is actually an event that took place actually this weekend when I was working towards this project. I attended the 321A state wrestling contest, and if you might be aware, there's a blizzard going on also, but there's railings in the upper level that most of the fans set in and watch the performing wrestlers down in the mats below. But anyhow, a 3-year-old fell from the upper deck during one of our hoxie matches nearby our crowd that were standing along the railing, and luckily for him, he didn't have sustained any major injuries. It was kind of a good situation, but I guess I look at it in 1970 when the Coliseum was built. I'm sure it met the compliances in place at that time. Is Fort Hays State University and Keisha have liable negligence in this case? And well, yes, I hope not. I hope that there are some thoughts there, but reactively, I would have gotten some witnesses together and get their description, get their names down, so if you have to interview them again later, you have that information. I would have sent some kind of staff or security in the area to keep those railings cleared through the rest of the evening. Proactively, I would look into signs or making announcements during the wrestling to make sure fans stay in the seating areas and not along the railing. Besides just simply the fact that someone fell, but this is also a fire hazard in that sense. Professional ethics, setting high levels of compliance. I would review the standards of the building to make sure that it's meeting all codes, and any kind of improvements could be made to make sure that that's happening. The LW versus Taurus River Regional School case, in this case here, very clear that children in the school system have the right to protect from discrimination, harassment, and bullying. And this case here, the student was being bullied on his sexuality. The parents even moved the child to a different district because it was getting so severe and a lot of things were not being done by that district. And then they filed suit that stated that it was not a safe environment. Reactively, again, I would have stayed in communication with the parents on their concerns and to proactively try to make sure that they were being met and making sure the discrimination wasn't being occurring in that situation. And so in both cases, make sure you have policies in places and procedures that all teachers are aware of what harassment and bullying looks like, and then what do you do if you notice it. Professional ethics, again, proper levels of counseling in place, strict guidelines to help in any consequences that need to be held. The Tinker versus Des Moines Independent School District. Here in this case here, the 3 individuals were wearing black armbands in protest of the government's policy during Vietnam. So this took place in 1969. We had a similar episode or similar situation that took place in the Olympics that just simply showed representation of their beliefs. The district court dismissed this complaint on the grounds that the regulation of the board's power did have the means to do this, but then the Court of Appeals overturned that and said the district was wrong. These gentlemen did not hold any kind of expressive and inappropriate way of having their protests being seen. So reactively checking in the social and emotional well-being of the students to make sure that they were protected and involved in the situation. Proactively, I'd want to develop a policy or procedures to make sure that there are clear expectations of students in regards to their freedom of speech is allowed and what that would look like, and give them some ideas of how to express themselves. I think that's a professional ethic, is they need to have the right to have strong communication and leadership as students, and we need to make sure that all stakeholders have that protection of freedom of speech. The Homan versus Manhattan Beach City District, this 10-year-old left the elementary premises without anybody's permission. 4 blocks down from the school, he was hit by a motorcycle and it's seriously injured. The parents fought suit towards the school district because they felt that there was not proper supervision, and they were in liability. Reactively, again, I would meet with all staff that would have been responsible for the student's supervision to make sure that what was the case and why did this break down, things that we can learn and things that we can improve, making sure that documentation is in place. Did they follow the appropriate regulations or guidelines that were put in place? Did they contact the administration? Did the administration contact the parents and police that a student had left school grounds and was lost probably at that time? Proactively train and discuss these kind of procedures and expectations and make sure that students are very secure and safe in the school grounds during school hours, and appropriate actions where students do leave and are discovered to have left grounds before dismissal. Professional ethic benefits, safety for all students should be sought out, and some off-campus awareness. Visit with the local police, visit with some of the younger kids on how to use crosswalks in an appropriate way to cross streets, and have that kind of vision in the future. So thank you, and appreciate the opportunity.